If you're feeling like affordability is just a myth these days, like reality got kicked to the curb and replaced with endless bills, just know you're not incorrect. In early 2026, an Instagram post went viral saying the US cost of living is ridiculously high. And guess what? That's not an exaggerated fact. Society's frustrated, beaten down, and straight up outraged because for the average hard-working person livelihood feels irrelevant and a waste of their precious time. Housing, well, that's getting more and more out of reach. That's not to mention groceries. Yay, that's just a lint-balled-filled wallet waiting to happen. And what about those sky-high priced cars? Okay, no, we're talking mopeds and engine-powered scooters, right? Because that's what you're seeing more and more. And look, let's not forget to toss in the healthcare and energy bills. Thinking about starting a family? You know, a white picket fence family living high on the hog. For many, that dream got drop-kicked straight out of the country once 2020 arrived. Yay, today in session 19 we're focusing on money matters that are wrecking your mind. So we're diving into the causes and possible solutions to survive this American financial catastrophe. Okay, toward the end of 2020, there was nothing but total unrest and chaos lurking everywhere. There was the shift of a presidential administration, which both drew vast criticism from some, while others offered unwavering support. Meanwhile, food was getting scarce, and isolation ran amok. Stagflation gripped communities. As wallets are getting emptier by the minute, people grew desperate to the point where hopelessness kicked them hard in the gut. Many believed nothing would never be the same again. Well, they were spot on, it would never again. And yet things steadily pushed forward, despite the overbearing aspects of stagflation. So let's take a deeper look by reflecting on the harsher aspects associated with these matters surrounding livelihood, financial distress, economic downturn, and the later solutions that can help sustain wealth. Stay tuned toward the end of this video. We'll come to a point of finding a few possible solutions that may be of use to you. Are you ready for this? I am. So let's roll the dice already. The first train wreck stop was none other than COVID-19. Toward the end of 2020, there was unrest and chaos everywhere. People were losing their freaking minds like it's going out of style. And ever since then insanity continually lingers without no end in sight. And no, it's coupled with unfettered financial debt. So let's start with where we are right now. February 2026. Headline inflation is down to about 2.4% year-over-year. Better than the wild peaks of 2022. But don't celebrate yet. Prices are still cumulatively way up. Groceries are roughly 30% higher than pre-pandemic levels. Okay. Let's do a quick flip back to housing. Yay, that's down at 34% since 2019, which is 7 freaking years. No, people. The most valued was always electricity. Some reports show a 41% cost hike in essentials for low-income folks. Healthcare keeps climbing faster than wages or GDP. The average family feels squeezed because essential needs are eating up their budget over time. Low-income households spend nearly 95% on basics like food, shelter, and utilities, leaving them no financial cushion. Even with higher wages growing in some areas, it's not enough to purchase the necessary means desperately needed. So this is a case of classic affordability crisis, which means there may be times where inflation cools down. Yet it's the citizens who are left with a lesser chance for survival. And for others who aren't caught in a financial bind may cast doubt of what was just said. Well, they have a right to their skepticism. Although there are various outlets to back up people who aren't imagining it. Because data from BLS, Bloomberg, and Aliens backs it up. We're in a K-shaped recovery where the high class thrives. But the middle and bottom class get hammered deep into the dirt. So where did this mess really kick off? Let's go back to what I said about the coronavirus pandemic. COVID wasn't just a health crisis, it was an economic shockwave. Supply disruptions plus massive fiscal spending equals inflation surge. Housing prices exploded from low rates, and remote work demand back then shot through the roof. Groceries spiked from meat shortages and logistic chaos. And this was what I meant with that title you just saw, which was Coronavirus. Angle of a modern-day pandemic. And you can bet your mother effing bottom dollar that airborne pathogen played a huge angle in this whole soon-to-be financial transitional shift. It was an obvious political agenda set in motion. And it took us through a stagnant time frame, and there's still aspects of it even today 6 years after the fact. People just don't forget something like that no time soon. Nevertheless, the financial damage was done. And that later led to more financial rifts, such as the high spike in cost of energy systems. The price for that has turned volatile. Bitcoin's expensive energy source can only match its horrific expenditures. And what about the rising costs surrounding healthcare? Okay, let's be honest here, folks. Healthcare costs have gotten worse with ongoing system strains. The financial scars here are long-term. There have been cumulative price hikes between 25 to 30% plus since 2019. Workers' wages staggered, especially for those within middle-class society. So it's not just one villain. It was more like a vicious hellfire punch combo started up the pandemic, and we were never let off the hook. No, throw in other skyrocketing factors such as tariffs jacking up import costs. Or how about AI-driven electricity demand, data centers guzzling power, climate impacts on food, weather, and sustained inflation became the root of everyone's financial ills. Beyond the economic challenges that emerged around 2020. Several persistent financial hurdles have continued to strain American households well into the mid-2020s. Supply chain disruptions have remained a major issue, driven largely by extreme weather events. These have repeatedly hit agricultural production, causing shortages in key commodities like cacao, tomatoes, and other crops, while also disrupting transportation, manufacturing, and logistics through floods, droughts, cyclones, and wildfires. Reports from 2025 and early 2026 highlight extreme weather as one of the top global supply chain risks, often leading to volatile prices and higher costs passed on to consumers. Policy decisions, particularly renewed tariffs on imports, have added further upward pressure on inflation. In 2025, these measures significantly raised the average effective tariff rate, contributing to higher prices for imported goods and consumer products. Analyses show tariffs accounted for notable portions of recent inflation, around 0.5 percentage points of headline PCE inflation in some periods. That was passed along through substantially to U.S. consumers and businesses, with estimates indicating nearly 90% of the burden falling domestically in parts of the year. Certain sectors have experienced particularly sharp cost spikes. Electricity prices have surged due to the massive energy demands from AI's continual data center boom, with consumption from these facilities projected to grow dramatically and already driving regional wholesale costs up by hundreds of % in some areas near major hubs. Residential electricity rates rose notably in 2025, outpacing general inflation, as utilities faced strained grids and requested record rate hikes. Homeowners insurance has also soared, fueled by escalating climate-related risks such as severe storms, wildfires, and floods, which have led to higher premiums, that often boomed 8 to 10% higher or more annually in recent years. Unfortunately, that reduced availability in high-risk zones, with non-renewal rates climbing significantly. Healthcare remains structurally expensive in the U.S., where per capita spending far exceeds that of other wealthy nations, reaching around $14,000 to $15,000 per person in recent estimates, roughly double the average for comparable OECD countries or what's known as Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is used to boost activities of economic progress and trade. This gap stems from higher prices for services, drugs, and administration rather than greater utilization. Compounding these pressures is a persistent mismatch between wages and prices for many middle earners. Real disposable personal income has shown only modest growth or stagnation for broad segments of the population after accounting for taxes, transfers, and inflation. This also includes certain metrics that indicate flat, or declining purchasing power for middle-class cohorts over parts of the post-2020 period despite nominal wage gains. The cumulative result has made core aspects of financial stability feel increasingly out of reach, especially for younger generations. Homeownership remains elusive for many millennials and Gen Z adults, even as rates edged up slightly in 2025, to about 55% for millennials and 27% for Gen Z overall, lagging well behind historical benchmarks for prior generations at similar ages due to high prices, elevated mortgage rates, and other barriers. This delay often cascades into postponed or foregone family planning. As people prioritize financial survival over starting families, the ongoing stress from these mounting costs has taken a serious toll on mental health, amplifying anxiety and feelings of insecurity. Far from reflecting laziness or poor choices, these struggles stem from straightforward math. Rising essential expenses have simply outpaced income growth for too many, reshaping life milestones and economic expectations in profound ways. Alright, we know we come down to the nitty-gritty, or what is known as notable solutions. And that's heavy on the notable part, because these are just possible ways to help alleviate financial dispositions. Okay, let's roll. Number 1, track relentlessly. Use tracking apps to log your expenses. That's a great way of keeping track of your spending. Number 2, cut the bleeding. Opt out of unnecessary subscriptions. Stop constantly eating out and going to the movies too frequently. Cut down that noise. That's the exact thing that squanders what little wealth you have stored away. There are numerous online alternatives to watch what you want for free. And when it comes down to cooking, just get innovative in the kitchen. Having the right ingredients and affordable food products works wonders for your wealth, not to mention your health. Number 3, aim for the 50-30-20 rule, which is 50% needs, 20% savings while curbing unfettered debt, and 30% wants can help keep things even Steven, or basically keeping your finances decently stable. Number 4, side hustles, or skill up. In the AI era, one should learn high-demand skills that will be needed in the coming future, such as coding, data, and various AI tech trades. Don't hesitate searching out profitable online remote gigs that pay decent wages. Number 5, attack your debt. So when you think of high interest, this goes for those getting their first credit card. Refinance if possible. Build up an emergency fund, even $1,000. Changes everything. Number 6, shop smart. Go for bulk buys, generics. Apps displaying ideal bargain deals. Move to lower cost areas if feasible. Remote work makes this easier to pull off. Number 7, invest wisely. Even small amounts in index funds beat inflation long term. And never chase after any too good to be true hype. Opportunities. Number 8, mindset shift. Focus on income growth over cost cutting alone. Negotiate raises. Switch jobs every 2 to 3 years for 10 to 20% bumps. Alright, there you go. But just know this. These aren't overnight miracles solutions, but with consistent effort and action put forth may help turn things around in 6 months to a year's time. But all comes down to you and your level of dedication. And by the way, the few sentences beforehand also serves as my disclaimer, because results may vary, which is something you or I have inherently no control over. Fight for change, and share this video with someone who's struggling. They need to hear they're not alone. So if you liked what you heard today about cost expenditures brought about by 2020's economic downturns, and ways to triumph by sustaining one's financial resources, then smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to Mind Blast Mechanics, where we dive deep into the observations that matter. Also throw in a comment out and it will 100% get answered. Don't miss our next video, so make sure to tap that bell. Thanks for watching.